Ta-da! We're back. All right, there we go. Let's start with that camera angle, shall we? All right, let's do our usual tee it up for the groups, and then we'll get busy and pick up where we left off. So give me a second. I'm going to do share this out to a few groups. Excuse me. All right. Bear with me. And we'll get this taken care of. So, we are streaming to 3 different places right now. We're streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, for those of you who are interested in knowing. Hello, Jesse. Welcome back. Good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well. We are doing a number of things, making stuff here. Give me a second here. I'm doing my usual group share. But today we are working on an Ironman suit made out of EVA foam. In case you're wondering. What's new with you? So, to recap, again, I'm doing my shares here, but I'll bring you all up to speed on what we did this morning. We worked with our back plate, and I will show you what we've got done so far. But we went ahead and finished out the back piece for our Mark IV Ironman suit. And we're actually getting pretty close to having the construction part finished. Hooray! But like I said, we'll as soon as I get done with my shares here, we'll go ahead and review what we've got done so far. In the meantime, sharpen up your knives if you're building along with us, or if you're just working on something while we're doing our thing in the background. And if not, that's okay too. Alright, I think that was my last group. Yes, it was. Alright, hopefully, you know what, I'm going to kill this page here so we don't overload our system, because it looks like we've got a pretty decent frame rate. Everything looks to be in real time, which is always good. Alright, so what did we work on this morning? Well, we glued our backplate pieces together, and this of course joins up with our chest plate. So we got the front and we got the back for our Mark IV Ironman suit. And what else do we have? Well, let's see. we have done our shins. So we've got our shin pieces. We have our ankle plates. Those are in a box down here. We have all of our thigh pieces done. Okay. And you know what's ironic? I feel like I'm going through chicken parts here, and I actually just had chicken for lunch. No, wait, I didn't. Never mind. I was going to, but I changed my mind. It wasn't that long ago. Gosh, pay attention. All right, then we've got our neck cowling here, made out of 5mm foam, and we have our Mark IV helmet, also made out of foam. No, I'm kidding. This is cast out of epoxy resin, off of the one back there. That's the original. That one right there. Mark IV. Made a mold, and now we cast these in resin. So we'll be sawing the faceplate off and the neck plate, or the neck extension. We'll be doing that tomorrow. All right. So what can we work on today, or this afternoon, I should say? That is some spare foam, which we may or may not need. Hand plates, ankle plates. Okay, so we've got some shoulders that we can build. We've got shoulders. We've got a cod piece. I think we'll work on all of it. Mr. Jordan, welcome back. Yeah, let's do the cod. That's always fun. And the shoulders. Let's just take all these pieces out, and we'll be attaching our ab plate to the cod. Okay. All right, I think. Actually, no, I just realized. With the exception of some duplicates and a couple of pieces that we need to glue into our biceps, wherever those are, over there. That's it for our Mark IV. That's it for the pieces that make up our Mark IV, except for the custom pieces that we'll use to create to finish out our cod and to attach our chest and back plate together. So we're actually nearing the end of the build part. Then we go on to the arc reactor part. Does that look familiar? Some guy, simple task of being here unless I get a fire call. Excellent. No worries, Jesse. So yeah, there is our arc reactor centerpiece. We're actually, this is my last one here from a mold that we had before. We're actually extending the back of this to make a mold, so we can cast more of these because I'm out. And then here is our arc reactor ring, which right now doesn't look like a ring, but it is also molded out of resin. And then we paint the transformers and the wiring with black and copper paint respectively, and we have an instant arc reactor. And then we light it up with one of these. Isn't that cool? I was thinking we'd build an arc reactor, but there's a little bit more involved in it. So I think what I'm going to do is, our next live stream after this one is on Thursday. So what I'm going to do is, I have a service that's called Restream. For those of you who do any kind of live streams, you probably know what it is, and if you don't, should check it out because it is a handy tool or service. Anyway, when I do build this, I'll go ahead and film it as if I'm doing a live stream, and then I'll just go ahead and broadcast it at some point so you guys can see this happen. But this lights all light is like the last word in arc reactor lighting. I use the switch, I use the LED, and I use the battery box from this in my arc reactor, along with this and one of these for an arc reactor. It's pretty handy, pretty cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump down to our table camera, and there's our parts. I'm going to move this keyboard out of the way because we need all the room we can get. I'm going to move the hand plates out of the way and my leg plates. Let's see, I'll put these back here. Alright, so as usual, I like to lay my pieces out and just do a quick assessment, make sure we've got everything. That's for the shoulders. I'm going to keep these pieces separate just for now. This is for our cod. This also is for our cod. Just realized that looks kind of like the Gucci symbol, doesn't it? I don't know. Anyway, what do I know? All right, here's the center of our cod. There's a side. There's the middle. These are shoulder pieces. Those are the bicep pieces. We'll put those in later. Shoulders. Again, just making sure we got all the pieces that we need. And it looks like we do, so we'll just put those over there. Alright, so these are the pieces that make up our cod plate. Cod piece. Personally, I like to call it the iron diaper. Alright, so as you know, I like to build substructures first. Good evening, Mr. Campbell. Thank you for joining us. So this is, again, my method here is to build the substructures first and then glue the substructures into the final assembly. That said, we need to take a walk through all of our pieces and prime up our surfaces. So, once I get these laid out with a little bit of room in between each one of them, social distancing, even between foam pieces. Alright, I'm kidding, of course. Then we will go ahead and get our pieces primed up. Again, for those of you just joining us, we are in the process of putting together a cod piece for the Mark IV Ironman suit, built entirely out of foam. Actually, this does go on. Just trying to remember how far up the piece went on this side, and it does go all the way to the front. Alright, got a little extra glue out there, so let me grab my paper towel. If you wipe contact cement off while it's wet, it doesn't make a mess, which is a good thing. So again, we're just going to go through all of these pieces and prime the surfaces up. No particular order, because this first coat is just to help seal up the pores of the foam. So our second coat sits more on the surface on the top surface and provides a surface that the glue will grab. And I did not want to put glue up there, but I did anyway, but it's no big deal. I think we'll be alright. So, how's everybody doing? Got anything fun you're working on you want to share with the group? And if it's a build that you're in progress on, or if it's a build that you finished and you want to share it, head on over to Foam Club. Join us over there as well, and show off your either your work in progress or your final piece. We would definitely like to see it. And talk about it, of course, in a good way. Alright, I'm actually not going to glue the opening here because we're going to actually trim that to size. So you'll see what I mean when we go to put the centerpiece in here. So for now, we'll just go ahead and glue. Alright, and I've got to actually cut. There's a little divot that happens in the front of the suit that looks like this. In order to get that, I've got to cut a valley in here, and I've only got one side cut here, so we're going to cut the other side to make that valley. Like so. Yes, sir. Did you get my message? Okay, and actually, you know what? We actually cut. I'm going to cut a new one of these. So I need this side, so I'm going to use this side, flip it over, and just mirror it to make a copy of the other one that I need. See if I can do this without my templates. I do have the templates, so if we need to pull those out, that's what we'll do. Alright, so this is an angle, this is a 90 degree, this is an angle and an angle, and then we know what we need to do here. Yeah. Alright, let's cut this out. Okay. And it needs to go in on the end. So we're going to lay our knife down, get a good angle there, and then we're going to do the same here, but as I come around I'm going to stand my knife up slightly so the angle isn't quite as great on this side. And then I'll do the same thing back here. I'm going to do a slight angle, about 30 degrees, and then we're going to stand it up to 90 as we come around the corner. Make it perpendicular. makes sense when we put it all together. Okay. Alrighty. Now, actually that piece is just a little taller than it needs to be, so let's trim it down a bit. Okay, and again, stand it up a little bit as we come around. Now I think let's double check our sizing. Alright, almost there. Just still a little bit wide right there. No, actually I think we're good. Alright, so we are going to cut this direction here, and then from the front I'm going to cut that same angle right about there. So now, when we glue it together, it'll make that little dimple like we want in the front. Alright, hopefully that's visible to you. And again, like I said, once we glue it together, it'll make a little more sense, I'm sure. Go a little deeper. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and put some glue in here now. So I'm going to want glue up here, glue on the front. We need some glue inside that cut so we can glue it back together, and then glue along the bottom, which actually glues to the top of another piece. Alright, again, it'll all make sense when we put it together, but for now we're just priming our pieces. There's that. Now the front of our cod plate. There we go. And all around the perimeter of our hip. These are for the centers of our hip pods. Alright, let's see. We just got this piece here, which is the center of the back. And if I'm not mistaken, we got to go all the way around on this. Okay, so there's that. And then our last piece here. There we go. All right, now we have some details that we need to bring out with our heat gun, our panel lines, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut those in here real quick. This again is part of our hip pod assembly. One for each side. Alright, now we'll grab our heat gun. Alright, for all you Ryobi fans out there, we are representing, just in case you missed it. Actually, I need my little extender piece here so I don't burn my fingers doing this on these small pieces. Alright, so some slits with our knife, a little heat from the heat gun, and we are going to make some panel lines. Quickly and simply. If you're using a higher output heat gun, oh really? Sorry to hear that, man. I won't. Fortunately, I already ate my dinner or my lunch, so I won't eat in front of you. But I do have a drink. It's just Coke, so I mean you can put, that could be in any glass. All right, there's our panel lines opened up nicely. I'm going to do the same on this piece here. So as I was saying, this heat gun puts out about 950 watts. Of power. I know some heat guns can go higher than that. I have one actually that will go up to 1250. So be careful that you don't scorch your foam while you're doing this. Fortunately, the 950 watts, it's a little tougher because it doesn't get quite as hot. But if I were to hold this in place this long with 1250 watts on it, I'd burn a hole right through it. And there you go. Nice panel lines, all ready to go. Now, those go on top of these, but we'll go ahead and glue those up a little later. Right now, I want to go ahead and create some substructures. So now we're going to put on our business layer of glue. That's the second layer of contact cement. Alright, so we're going to set up the inside of these hip pod rings here. Okay, and then the inner core. Alright. Now while we're waiting for that to dry before we start assembling, we're going to go ahead and I think we'll start in the back. So I'm going to grab my little centerpiece here and then my side pieces, which it looks like I actually forgot to put glue on that piece there, so my bad. That's alright. I'll put another layer here on in a minute. both sides. The glue smell is kind of strong, and I just realized that I didn't turn on my other fan, so give me 1 second. I'm going to go do that real quick. I've got a fan in the window that pulls the fumes up. Got a fan in front of my desk that pushes the fumes away from the table, the build table here, and then I've got another fan in the window that takes it the rest of the way out. And it works pretty good because obviously I noticed it was a little smellier than normal. And that is because I didn't have my other fan on. Alright, there's so many places I could start here. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and lay down the business coat on a number of surfaces. And then just start sticking them together. But again, because this is a symmetrical piece, you got a left and a right, I'll typically build out one side and then build out the other side and then attach them in the center. Okay, so let's see, we got that done. Alright, let's go ahead and hit these. Paper towel here, take a little glue off the top. Just a little bit off the top, a little bit off of this edge here. There's the other one over here. Okay, there's that. Alright, and then I think this is our last, nope, our second to last piece. So we got this edge here, and then this one here. Alright, so I think we're ready to stick some pieces together. So I'm going to grab my core, my hip pod core piece, and we're going to leave a little indent all the way around, and then just start pulling these sides in here like this. And there's a reason why we're leaving the indent, and that is because these pieces go in there after we get this glued in. Now, you'll see here we're going to have a little overlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up far enough to see how far that overlap goes, and then we'll trim it. As soon as I find my knife. There we go. Okay. Now that we know where that goes. We'll finish attaching this. And I'm going to put some glue in here, and then that'll finish gluing our first hip pod together. So just open it up a little bit, put a little glue in there, wipe the excess off the outer edge, and we'll let that dry. Move on to our other hip pod. So again, about 1/8 of an inch, or a 2mm indent, as you apply this outer ring to our core. Get to the end, measure the overlap, trim it off. And there we go. And again, bring it out to the end, open it up, put a little glue inside, and set it aside to dry. Okay, so while those are drying, let's move on to our other pieces. Alright, I'm going to take this piece here. Looks to be pretty dry and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and close up that little dimple that we made earlier by doing our valley cut. So when it's glued together, it looks like that. Alright, and then this piece sits on top of this piece at a bit of an angle, which you're going to see happen. So this is cut at a slight angle, moving into a more dramatic angle, and this side's straight. But watch what happens when we attach it all together. Remember, line up your outer edge of your surface first. Don't be afraid to bend this foam to get it out of your way. Alright. I'm just going to bring it down, lay it in place, follow that angle. Got a little excess here, which we're going to go ahead and trim that off. That lines up with this. So we're just going to go ahead and hit that at a slight angle. And now you can see, because we had some angled cuts there, that we've got a piece that kind of starts out straight up here, and then it becomes more of a dramatic angle going in down there, which sets everything up to line up with the front of the cod when we glue it all together. Okay, so let's do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and glue this dimple in place, and then we'll go ahead and lay this on top. Like I have two different colored foams here. No big deal. When we get done painting, it's all going to be red anyway. So it doesn't even matter. Alright. That's where that piece goes. Alright. So again, we've got kind of a custom valley seam connection, whatever you want to call it, going on there. Alright. Let's check our hip pods. Not ready just yet. That's alright, because we got more pieces to put in here. So this piece glues in here. Let's go ahead and attach that. And again, there's just a slight angle on some of these pieces. So as we glue them in, you're going to see the angle happen here just kind of automatically. And then this piece here, we're going to kind of rotate a little bit, bend it a little bit forward, because that's what's going to happen pretty much automatically as we glue it together. It's going to create that forward bend. Like that. So you see, now we went from a straight flat piece, and by incorporating those bends, now it's bending as it's kind of rolling around the corner automatically. We're going to give this a little bit more of a roll anyway, because this actually goes on your hip. Speaking of which, let's go check our hip pods. I think we're ready to complete this connection here. And we are. So there's one of our hip pods. Okay, that we'll glue in right here. Same thing over here. Let's glue this one together. Now, before we glue these in, though, we're going to do a little bit of detail work on these, but we'll come back to those. So let's set these aside. Actually, you know what? We can go ahead and get these ready to glue in. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hit this with a little bit of glue on the back. Now this is a much more densely constructed foam, so this is only going to require one coat of glue on the black pieces. We may require a little more on this here, but this is a front, what I like to call the dress side of the foam, because it's the prettier side. We've also hit this with a heat gun earlier, which means that surface is pretty well sealed. We've tightened the pores up with the heat, which means, again, we may not need to put 2 coats of glue on there. So we're just going to go ahead and hit that with one, let it dry. Alright, we've got another one of these to glue on the other side. So let's get that side over here and put it in where it goes. Alright. Okay. Seal up our seams. Make sure we've got a good bond all the way through. As you can see, again, we've got a little bit of an overhang here, so let's just get rid of that. Same thing on this side here. Alright. So there's our 2 sides. I'll go ahead and give this one a little bit of a roll. Check the back here. Alright. Alright. So, hip pods are still drying. So let's go ahead and start putting together our 2 sides now. We're going to join them together. So I'll start on this side first. I'm going to grab our center plate for the front. Alright, take this right up the side. Okay, so there is one side of our cod joined to the front panel. Now we'll go ahead and do the same on this side here. burnish that down with our thumb. And make sure we've got a good join back here in the back, and we do. And now, there is the front and sides of our cod. Let's put the back together. That's what this little piece is for. There's a little indent that occurs back here, so we're going to go ahead and put that in place. And now, you can kind of see this baby coming together. Alright, so there's the sides, the front, and the back. Now I will tell you that this is kind of a generic size. Depending on who this is going to be worn by, I will open this up as necessary to make it fit. And I do know that this does have to be a little bigger once we're finished, but we'll do that when we start piecing everything together in the final assembly. Alright, next piece to go on is not that piece, but this piece here in the center. This gives the underside of the front of the cod its shape, as well as sets up the edge to glue it to the piece that goes in between, runs along the bottom. So let's go ahead and cap off. Nope, we need more glue here. I forgot we trimmed off some pieces over here on the side. So let's hit that with some glue. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit all the rest of these edges with glue as well. And do the inside as well. As long as you keep your coats thin, you can give it a little extra glue. It's not going to hurt anything. Just make sure that the coats are thin, and then before you go and try and stick them together, that they're dry and tacky to the touch. Alright, now I'm going to set this aside for a moment, because we're going to go ahead and set up this piece here with one more coat of glue, and I'm going to move back to our hip pods, do our final assembly on that, and then I'm going to show you how to put some hip pod details in there. Using a couple of different techniques. Alrighty? Alrighty. Okay, so here is hip pod detail number one. Just make sure we get that centered up. There's a little bit of gap going all the way around. That's by design. Okay, so when it's done, that's what you get right there. Alright, do the same thing with the other side. Drop that bad boy in place, make sure it's centered up nicely. Again, a little bit of gap all the way around the edge just to add some visual interest. And there you go. Alright, now, anybody that's seen these hip pods knows that there's a series of little circular indents all the way around, which are, not exactly sure what they are, doesn't really matter. Now there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. I'm going to demonstrate on some scrap foam before we do it on the actual pieces. The first way is using a Dremel tool. I don't know if you guys have tried this before, but it's pretty nifty. I forget how I stumbled onto this technique. But like I said, it's pretty nifty. I've got a couple of different sanding cylinder sizes here. Alright. So this is one of them. I'm going to jump cameras here so you can see this. Alright, so this is one of the sizes that we're going to use to demonstrate this technique. And then we have a smaller one, like this. So you got the bigger one, and you got the smaller one, right? Alright, now I'm going to put it in our Dremel. lock it down. This is the bigger piece. You want to hold it steady, about medium speed. Actually, that's a little fast. And before we do that, let's just make some reference dots here. Okay. Here we go. Just take your Dremel, straight up and down. Like I said, steady hand, and burn it in about that far. Not too far. Maybe 1 or 2 millimeters at most. Now you can see you've kind of got a little fake rivet action. Never mind my black dot. I didn't get right on the dot. If you can ignore those. In fact, I'll do a couple more so you can see it without the black dot. Pretty cool, huh? And then if you want, you can hit it with a little heat gun just to dull it down a little bit, seal the edges. So now it looks like it's literally molded or printed into the metal piece. Isn't that cool? So you can do that with the larger bit or sanding cylinder, or you can use the smaller one. Which, if you guys have watched me build the reverse bear trap, I actually used the smaller one to make some rivet-looking indents in that as well. Okay, and there's the smaller ones. So quick and dirty rivets. I think I usually do the bigger ones. I'm kind of toying with the notion of doing a smaller one on here, but yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and do a smaller one. So obviously, the first thing that you want to do is you want to set up your reference marks to make sure you get them at the right distance from each other. So I'm going to draw a line about the center. I'll divide it into 4 quadrants, and then I'll go in and divide that center with another mark. I didn't want to hit the seam, but oh well. I was trying to avoid that seam. So we've kind of got this look going on. Alright. Now if you want more rivet marks in there, you can just go in and add more. In fact, I think because we're going to use the smaller cylinder, I think that's what we'll do. I'm going to put in a number of them going around the perimeter. Okay, there you go. So that's how many we're going to do. Now, to make sure that we get them all equidistant from in the center going around, I'm just going to take my fingers. I'm going to hold the pencil where I want it and then use my fingers as a guide and then just spin this circle around in place and let the pencil make a mark at roughly the same distance all the way around, like that. Alright, here we go. Let me move this so you can see it. And then where those lines intersect is where we'll put our circles. So let's do it. Sounds like fun. Now I'm using a cordless Dremel, but it really doesn't matter. Corded, cordless, use what you got. Okay, there you go. We have a perimeter of rivets on our hip pods. And that, just a little bit of heat, knock down any edges that are sticking up there. That's ready for paint. Let's do it again on the other side. Okay, rough in our circle like we did before. And then using our Dremel, put our rivets on the intersections. Alright, there we go. Now, let's say for a minute that you don't have a Dremel, alright, to use this technique. There is another technique, if you have a heat gun, that works pretty cool. And I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and get some glue. Actually, we're going to keep that because we'll need that. Let's get some glue on these pieces here, because that is where those are going to sit once they're glued in place. And actually, you know what, before we do that, hey Rolando, good to see you, bud. Did you like my rivet technique there? You can use that for free. I won't even charge you. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and glue in this front cap. I'll demonstrate the alternative heat gun technique here in a second, but let's get this in here because they are ready to assemble. Okay, so there we've capped off the front of our cod piece. Again, this is not only provides some finish to the front of our cod, but then again, as I said, it sets up the front of our cod here for this piece, which is the piece that runs between your legs and joins the front to the back. So again, we're going to go ahead and lay that in place here. Okay, that's what the front looks like when we get it attached. And now we're going to wrap it around to the back here. There's a little bit of an indent on our center joiner here, but on the side pieces to the center, bottom center, this actually lines up evenly. So just bear that in mind. I'm going to keep the indent here, but then line it up directly at the same level on the outside pieces to the center tie, if you will. Let's call it a center tie. The crotchal region ties it all together like that. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mark these. We don't need to put glue on everything here, just the part where it's going to actually attach. So it'll be there to there on that side, and then on this side it'll be there to there. All right. And this is the right. I'm just going to put an R back there so we know which is which. Okay. This is a cut edge, so we will need to prime it. Okay. We'll give this another coating here. Alright, now, while that's drying, let me show you the heat gun technique for making these rivets. I'm looking for a piece of copper tubing that I thought I had sitting over here. You know, I clean up my tables and then they just get messy again. Alright, my apologies, but I think I'm not exactly sure where my copper tubing pieces went. Let me see if I have something up here. No, I don't. Hold on. Alright, well, I have something that we can use to demonstrate. Let me look over here real quick. Yeah, I have a whole cup of copper tubing pieces that I usually use for this technique, but they are obviously probably in one of these bins. So we can demonstrate with this piece pretty much the same thing. Now you're going to want to use a pair of pliers at the very minimum, because this piece of metal is going to get rather toasty. So, and actually, you know what? There's another way to do this. Now, this is actually the piece that goes on the end of my heat gun. So I'm just going to actually just put this on my heat gun like that. So this is gonna get hot just by way of use. All right. If you don't have one of these, then you would use just a piece of copper tubing, hold it with a pair of pliers, and put it in line with the heat output. All right. But basically, the concept is the same. You'll heat this up. We're just going to run it. Okay? And then when that end gets hot enough, try not to look down the pipe at too straight of an angle there, burn your face off. When this gets hot enough, obviously you don't want to keep the heat on as you press it into the foam if you're using this. You'll just press it into your foam after you heat it up. And depending on the size of copper tubing that you're using, it'll create a nice little ring in your foam there. Now again, if you use a smaller piece of copper tubing, obviously it'll make a smaller circle. But that's the concept. Okay? This is also a handy technique, heating up a piece of copper tubing and then using it to punch out circles of foam if you just need little plugs for whatever reason. Little plugs of EVA foam. But as demonstrated earlier when we did this, this is by far and away the Dremel tool is by far and away my favorite technique. All right, let's apply a little more glue here, and then when that dries, I think we'll be ready to stick that onto our cod piece. Right. Okay, well, we've still got about a half hour before the end of the stream, so let's build a shoulder. Googly eyes? Why? What's wrong with my eyes? You're saying I have googly eyes? I'm not sure I followed. I'm kidding. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about, actually what you're talking about is doing something that makes more like rivets. You can use that. I've seen that technique. Personally, I don't use googly eyes for rivets. I actually just do a dot of hot glue. Straight in, make your dot, straight out. And then if you get a little tail on it or something, hit it with a heat gun after, either before or after it cools down, and you can flatten it out. No, I don't have googly eyes. I know that. All right. Well, let's do a shoulder bell. I think we got at least time for at least one. Let's go ahead and spread our parts out here. Now this is actually that ring technique. No, that's too small of a ring. I actually use that heated copper tubing ring technique for making my my circles on the shoulder bell or the shoulder caps, if you will. So I'm gonna have to track those things down. I'm sure I'll find them after the live stream's over. So they're around here somewhere. If not, a little piece of copper piping isn't that expensive. You can always replace it, right? All right. Let's line our pieces up here. Trying to remember which way this goes. I don't have my reference. I don't have my reference piece here. And then these sit in here, like so. There we go. So these pieces are curved the way they are, cut the way they are, because when you glue it together, it pulls it into a rounded shape automatically. Or as we like to say, auto-magically. Oh, these are actually the right pieces, my bad. Where is my... There it is. Turn that around. There. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that goes that way, right? Pretty sure. Fingers crossed. I've built these backwards before, so anything's possible. There we go. Those only go one way. There we go. That's how that goes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this goes. And now I got myself questioning myself. Where is my reference Ironman figurine? Hold on. Yeah, that's not going to help. Hold on, I've got one other place I can look. Give me 1 second here. Because I'd hate to put these things together backwards and then have to recut them. Life couldn't be better. Drinking a White Russian, right? Okay, all right. It's all good. White Russian and a watching Art in the Making. Why, thank you. I'll take an old-fashioned, please. If you want to make me one, that'd be awesome. All right. All right, hold on just a second here. Again, I'm just double checking where my pieces go. Okay, there we go. This piece here. Yes, I have these. I had them backwards before, so now we're good. Yeah, this piece goes on this side here, so I'm just going to give this a line reference here just to make sure, and we'll do a double line there. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get these surfaces primed. And then you'll see what I mean when it comes to when you glue these pieces together, how it creates that curve automatically for you. Alright, there's that one. Alright, we're going to wipe the top off. No reason to be messy about this, because Rolando has made me think of this as art now, and so I'm kind of elevating my game a little. Don't want to let Rolando down. Alright, so that piece goes here. Where's my paper towel? Alright, we'll let those dry. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and attach our hip pods to our cod. Just a little bit of an outdent there. Again, add that visual interest. There we go. So there's one side. Now let's go ahead and glue in our other side. Okay, so let's jump cameras, shall we? And there we go. A little bit of foam, a little bit of contact cement, a couple of zips with the Dremel tool, and we've got a cod piece that's all but ready to size to whatever size it needs to be and put into our final assembly. Again, this is something that I will go ahead and run a good bead of hot glue along these insides of these seams after they cure, after the contact cement cures, just to add a good deal of strength to the joints. But again, I will wait until it cures simply because I don't want to undo the seams with the heat. So, alrighty, back to our shoulder. I'll set that over there. Alright, I think we're ready for our second coat. Once again, we'll clean off our top. And then we'll hit these over here. Looks like we didn't get any glue on this one. So this is still our primer coat. Not sure what happened, but that's okay. We'll just have to hit that one more time. Alright, we've got some panel lines here we need to open up with some heat. So while we're waiting for the glue to dry, let's go ahead and do that. Alright, there's panel line number 1. And then same thing here. There's that. Now we're just waiting for our glue to dry. Getting close, real close. So again, I wish I knew where my other piece of copper tubing was, because that's what I typically use to make my circles here. But I think what we can do, that's still a little warm, can't use that one just yet. That circle there is about the same size. What we could do is heat up that with the heat gun and then use that, although there's a cut in it. No, I'll find my copper pieces later. For now, we'll just roll with what we got. And we do need a couple more of these. I just noticed that we only have 2. So while we're waiting for this glue to dry, let's cut a couple more real quick, shall we? I was grabbing the other one to make the other one, and I just realized they're both the same size. I think I can use the same one twice. Alright, I don't know if you can see it or not, but these have a slight bevel going outward. So we're going to go ahead and do exactly that. Just apply a bevel by angling our knife slightly as we cut these out. Okay, so there's one. There we go. Now we have four pieces, which is what we need. Okay, so first, we're going to go ahead and glue this sub-assembly together here. A little bit of an indent on the top of our shoulder piece, so we come away looking like that. All right. And then these line up flush all the way around. As we glue this together, you're going to see that the foam will bend, and we're already well on our way to that rounded shoulder shape just by gluing those ends together. Now, I will tell you that this puts a good amount of stress on this glue joint. So what I like to do is I like to work the foam after I've attached it like this to help it bend into that curve, which will add to the curve, but at the same time help take some of the stress off this joint while it cures. Alright, same thing over here. I'm going to go ahead and attach this piece here. And then keep the indent on our little indent piece. And again, just work the foam a little bit. You could, if you wanted to, hit this with heat before you glue them together and apply a little bit of a curve to it, which would help. But I wanted to show it to you without heat so you could see that it was possible for it to be done and to create that bell, that curve there, just by gluing the foam together. Heat will only make it a little bit easier to achieve this shape because you'll build the curve in ahead of time. And then these are pieces too that I'll put a bead of hot glue along these seams on the back here, just to throw a little extra reinforcement and keep the pieces in the shape that it's currently in. Alright, let's move on to our next piece. So the substructure first. Alright, there we go. Okay, this feels a little dry here, so I'm going to just give that another quick layer of glue. Same over here. While we're waiting for that glue to dry, I'm feeling a little dangerous here, so I think what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and make our circles on here, cut them with our knife, and then hit it with the heat gun. So I'm going to just go in about that far all the way around. Again, use your fingers as a guide to keep the pencil at the same distance from the outer edge of your circle. And as long as you have your pencil in your hand and your guide sort of set up, probably wouldn't hurt to go ahead and do your other pieces as well, so you can duplicate that distance when you create your ring. Now I could find something that's circular and use that to draw another ring in the center. That is always an option. But I like to do it this way once in a while too. Okay. Once we have our circles marked, very carefully take our knife and go in about a 1/16 of an inch, if that, maybe 1 millimeter, all the way around our ring. Not too deep, although this is just a showpiece. This isn't really going to be anything of any structure, so we don't have to worry if it weakens it a little bit, because it's just going to sit on the surface and look pretty. So there's our detail rings. We'll hit that with some heat real quick. And got a nice ring around the center of our circle. Last one. Okay, so those are finished. Set our heat gun aside. And I believe this is ready to join together here, but let's see. Alright, so I'm going to start out here. Respect that indent that we created earlier. And then line up this edge here. Take it all the way down. Okay, so there is the core structure of our shoulder pads, not shoulder pads, our shoulder bells. Now we're going to apply this piece to complete the shoulder layout. Got it right the first time. I thought I did. Yes, there we go. Alright, so this piece goes here, and then this piece wraps around like this. And that'll finish off our shoulder piece. Thank you, Mrs. Spears. That'll finish off our shoulder piece for Mark IV. So let's go ahead and get this baby in line where it goes. So we're going to pin this up. We're going to mark the outside and the inside both. And actually, you know what we're going to do first? We're going to go ahead and put these circles on, because that's actually going to help us line things up a bit. So I'm going to put one on here, and then one on here on both sides. So let's go ahead and lay those out. Get some glue on them. Okay, there's that one. And again, this is a denser foam. The black stuff is denser, and this is our dress edge here, so we don't have to worry so much about primer coat. We can just go straight to attachment once the glue is dry. And then we'll go ahead and mark for our outer wrap piece. Okay. Oh, no. Need some glue on these. Forgot about these here. They need glue too. Alright, so there you go. Now, wait for the glue to dry, we'll put those on, and then like I said, we'll line up for our outer wrap pieces. Okay, so with the shoulder bells and our cod piece built, pretty much all that's left is honestly just attaching our ab plate to our cod piece, and then connecting the chest plate to the back plate, and making sure everything is sized correctly to match the person that's going to wear it, which in this particular case will not be me, and then set it up for paint. Yeah. So next stream, I think what we'll be doing is, let's see, I've got some stuff to do for another Mark IV that we'll be shipping this week. So we'll be doing the electronics for that, the helmet hinges, and like I said before, when I build out the electronics, I'll be sure to record it and then just publish it as a stream so you guys can watch that build, even though I may not do it live. It'll still be a live stream. Don't make me explain it. Trust me, it's just the way it works. Anyway, and then Thursday when we do our official live stream, I think what we'll start doing is we'll start assembling. We'll do the final assembly of the Mark IV that we've been working on. We'll bring all the pieces together. I have a duct tape dummy that we'll bring back here and start assembling it on the dummy so you can see how everything goes together. And then I'll start explaining strapping and things like that. Oh, just realized something. Forgot, we still have some detail lines in this piece before we put it on. So it actually comes down the center here and then does a sharp turn and goes up the center here. I'm going to duplicate that on this piece. Comes to here. And then up to the end like that. Alright, let's cut those in real quick. Okay, there's that one. There's that one. Hit it with our heat gun. And then we should be just about ready to glue on those circles. Okay, there's that panel line. Got one more here. There we go. Panel line number 2. Alright, let's attach these circles here. Here they go. This one sits on this part here. This one goes out here. There we go. Alright, all that's left now is to throw a final assembly on this. So this piece comes around here like that and gives us our final shoulder bell assembly. So, this piece here, I'm going to go ahead and start sketching where it goes. Because remember, we need to glue this. We need to glue this on both sides, the inside and the outside. Alright. Okay, so that's where that one goes on the outside, and then on the inside, again, we don't have to be exact here. We're going to put a little extra glue in there. But on the inside, that's roughly where we want the glue to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this as a model for my other shoulder bell to make sure that we get everything lined up the same. So right about there is where that goes. Lay that down there. Okay. And then same thing on the inside. Mark where the glue goes in here. And there you go. All that's left now is to put our glue on both sides. I've had people ask me about the texture on the inside of this foam, if it creates a problem, and if I use a Dremel tool to, rough it up a little bit before we put the glue on, and you can do that. I generally don't, and I've found that it works just fine without using sandpaper or the Dremel to open up this texture back here. But if you want to, you can. It definitely won't hurt. Okay. We are going to hit this with a couple of layers of glue just to make sure that we've got good adhesion. There's that one. Here. Alright, so we'll let that dry. Just take a few minutes. And then we'll connect them together. And that'll do it for our shoulders. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not, but we will reinforce the inside of these shoulder bells with hot glue, just to make sure that they don't split on us. These do get a lot of wear and tear as you raise and lower your arms, a lot of scraping and twisting, so we want to make sure that they have every advantage when it comes to reinforcing the seams. Now we got these little pieces here. I suppose we could go ahead and get some glue on them, get them ready. These are little trim pieces that go on top of the shoulders. Okay. And actually, they go right in here. So we're going to give this a little extra glue right across there. So there's a place for them to live. little tacky. I think this piece here is ready for another layer of glue. So let's go ahead and get that set up. Okay, there's that. Alright, and there's that side. Let's go ahead and just put a little more here on the back side. This piece. Okay. There we go. And there we go. Alright, as soon as that dries, we'll put them together. And that should probably do it. Now again, this glue is not cured, so you can see I'm kind of prying my seams apart there. Once this glue cures, you wouldn't be able to tear that apart if you tried. Not at the seams, anyway. Well, I mean, you could if you tried, but, I mean, you know, it's just kind of destructive. Why are you trying? Come on. Come on. Alright. We're almost done here, folks. Hang in there. That's not the piece for that. This is. That one goes with that one. We could hit this with the heat gun, I suppose. Speed it up a little bit, but what's the fun in that, right? We like to watch paint and glue dry. That's why we do this. So let's review while we're waiting for that to dry up. Tonight we worked on our cod. So we obviously glued our pieces together to make said cod, and then we went ahead and used our Dremel tool to create some rivets in our hip pods, which will look real nice when it's painted up. It's actually a really nice looking cod. Oh, it's coming apart up here. Again, remember, when you glue pieces together that have a lot of tension on them, go back and check your seams, because it will, until that contact cement is cured, you do run the risk of it pulling things apart on you. Pull it back here so it doesn't look quite so rounded in front because of the lens. Alright, so again, there's our cod. And then, of course, we are working on our shoulder pieces, which are currently on the table. And we are about to glue these pieces together. I think that's probably, that's still a little tacky there. I'm going to wait. It's still a little wet. It's not tacky. It's actually wet. So I hope everybody's having a good weekend, and I hope after the stream is over you continue to have a good weekend. I don't know how the weather is where you're at. It was nice here today. I hear it's supposed to rain tomorrow, which is unfortunate because I've got some painting to do. Gotta do what you gotta do. I'll be painting in the garage. Alright, that is good and tacky. It's still a little juicy here, so I think what I'm going to do is I'll take our paper towel and just pull a little bit of that glue off there. I think I went a little overboard on the glue. And then let's hit it with the heat gun. Just dry it up a little bit more. You having a good weekend now? Good. I'm about to join you after this stream's over. Alright. Oh yeah. That's nice and tacky. So, let's go ahead and attach this shoulder wrap to our shoulder core. Make sure you get it where you want it to go, because once you start laying a large piece like this down, it is going to be hard to change positions later if you decide that it's not where you want it to be. Alrighty, so there we go. Got a good position, got real good stick there with the glue. So I'm just going to burnish this down inside and out. And just kind of reinforce that curve. And then last but not least, we've got our little detail piece here that sits on top. So I'm going to just drop this right in here where it goes. Like that. And again, just apply a little bit of muscle to it to get that piece to stay attached on the outside. And that is our left shoulder bell for the Mark IV. Okay. Now, when the suit is assembled, there's typically elastic that runs from the inside of both of these circles to the inside of the chest and the back plate, which will help hold it in. It'll help hold its shape, and also returns it to where it should be when the arms are in the lowered position. Alright, let's go ahead and put this one on. The other side. Okay. So once again, we've got good placement here, right where we want it. That's right. We've got it right where we want it now, don't we? And then this little trim piece that goes on the outside. To dress it up a bit. Again, lays in there just like that. And now we have a matching set. Ta-da! In fact, this is where they go. Hey, look. I'm Ironman, or at least I have Ironman shoulders. Ta-da! Alright. Nothing to it. Nothing to it. So tonight's builds shoulders and codpiece. All right, any questions? Good, good. All right, so that, as expected, brings us to the end of our evening stream, or afternoon stream, I should say. And we were almost on time for both of them today. As always, appreciate if you guys subscribe, follow, like, share, comment. Obviously, Laughing Dragon Foundries, the Facebook page, is where we kind of show off what we're doing and, of course, let you be involved in the process and the discussion. Thank you, Mrs. Spears. If you want to show us what you're working on and engage others in your showing your builds and getting friendly critique and input, then Foam Club is where you want to be, which is the group that's attached to this page. Again, Laughing Dragon, by all means, please follow, like, and share, and subscribe, and all of that with us here. We do have a YouTube channel as well, and a Twitch channel, and whatever other channels we're going to be coming online with here. But right now, like I said, we're wrapping up this Mark IV. We've got another Mark IV that's in paint. We've got a bear trap that we're working on, a bunch of other cool new stuff. Actually, later this week, we'll be making some molds for our arc reactor piece, building an arc reactor, wiring up electronics, doing hinges, getting the helmet wired up and ready to go with the eyeballs and whatnot. So again, live streams are Thursdays and Saturdays until further notice. As always, appreciate you guys stopping by. Keep your glue hot and your hopes high. This is James with Laughing Dragon Foundries. Thank you again for checking.